Hi. Class today, you could use a blanket, that could be handy, or a towel, something like a strap. This could also be a dog leash or a scarf or a long sleeve t-shirt. And 2 blocks, or maybe a chair could also work. Hi everyone, welcome. Today we're going to go through a quick, really accessible set of exercises and movements that you can do that are good for the hips. This is particularly good if you do a lot of walking, running, hiking, or cycling, and your hips are always sort of doing one particular action. What that can do is lead to some tightness around the areas of the hips, but we're also neglecting the sides of the hips and some of the muscles of the glutes when we're only going in that forward plane. So we're going to really embody all of that today in this quick video. So please find your way to standing. Find a nice tall stance. Feet can be about hip width apart. We're just going to warm up the spine and the shoulders a little bit first. So we'll do sort of a standing cat and cow. So spread your hands out behind you. Puff your heart forward, gaze a little bit up. Then as you exhale, round forward. Inhale again, spread the fingers back, puff your heart forward, sort of looks like this from the side. And as you exhale, round through the back of your chest, sweep your arms forward. One more time, inhale, broaden the arms behind you, hug your shoulder blades together, gaze slightly up. Exhale, this time wrap your left arm under your right, give yourself a hug. Option to stay here to eagle wrap the arms, stretch the palms of the hands away from you. Keep rounding through the upper back. Release on an inhale, unwind the arms, puff the heart forward, gaze to the sky. Exhale, ascend right arm underneath the left. Give yourself a hug. And then option to eagle wrap the arms, press the forearms away from you, drop your chin. Keep rounding the upper back. Good, inhale again, sweep the arms out wide. And then exhale to release. Good. Next, we're going to interlace the fingers. Flip your palms out and away from you. Take a big step out to the right. Bend your right knee, lift your left heel, and take your arms to the sky. Press it back through your hips. So really ground through your right heel and lift your upper arm bones towards the sky. Full breath in. Full breath out. Inhale, come back to center. Exhale, release your arms. Switch the interlace of your fingers. So lift your elbows towards the sky. Big breath in. Big breath out. Inhale, come back up to center. Exhale and release the arms. Good. Now take your right leg behind your left. You can come onto the outer blade of that right foot. Take left hand to left hip and circle your right arm up and overhead. And imagine that you're pressing your right hip and your right fingertips in opposite directions. Nice big stretch here. Good. Inhale, come back to center. Release the arm, and then over to the other side, left leg behind you, right hand to right hip, circle your left arm up and overhead. Left hip and fingertips reach away from one another. So we're just lengthening, stretching out some of these muscles, again, that we're gonna work in a little while. Inhale, come back to center, and exhale, release. Same but different. Step your right leg back behind you. This time, take hold of your right wrist with your left hand and just maybe come a little bit more deeply into that side bend, into this lateral stretch for the spine. Inhale, back up to center, switch grasp of the wrist, left leg behind you, and lean over to the right. Inhale, come back up to center, and exhale, release the arms. Come back over to the right leg and squeeze your left heel in towards your left glutes. Just really hover that heel in as close as you can get it to the hip. You should feel the hamstring really switch on here. It might feel kind of like a cramping sensation. Then take hold of the outer blade of the left foot with your left hand. You can also use a strap here. Point your left knee towards the earth and lengthen your tailbone down. We're just breathing some space here into the left quads. Full breath in. Full breath out. Good. Keep your left leg lifted, but release hold of it. Flex your left toes and cross your left ankle over the front of your right thigh, and then shift your hips back in space and sit down a little bit. So you're making this figure 4 shape with the legs. Option to stay here, hands on hips, or you could bring your forearms onto that left shin bone. This is a variation of chair pose. Ooh. And really keep your left foot active so there's no strain in the knees. You feel this all along the outer left hip. Take an inhale, rise back up to center, and exhale, release left leg down. Good, other side. Bend your right knee, squeeze your right heel in towards your right hip until you feel a little bit of that interesting sensation through the right hamstring. Then take hold of the outer blade of the right foot with your right hand. Point your right knee straight down, lengthen your tailbone towards your left heel. Good. And release hold of the right foot, flex the toes, which means pull them up towards the right knee, cross right ankle over left thigh, and begin to sit your hips back and down. So really folding at the hips here, spine remains long. Option to stay a little bit more upright, or you could let your forearms rest on your right shin bone and drop your gaze towards the floor. And you can wobble here. That's allowed. You might use some support as well under the hands, or you could do this at the wall. With your next inhale, press into the left foot, rise, right knee lifts, and then exhale, release the right foot down. Good. Grab your 2 blocks. Forgotten about those. And take them at the top of your mat. We're going to do a nice active forward fold, and hopefully your legs are feeling really fired up already. Mine most certainly are. Bring your hands to your hips. We always want to start by creating length. So as you inhale, lift your sternum like there's a little string there, pulling it up towards the sky. Really charge down through your feet. Then as you exhale, a little bend in your knees again. Press your hips back and begin to fold at the hips, spine nice and long, hands onto your blocks. Good, again, feet can be about outer hips width apart here. See how that feels. And then begin to relax your spine down towards the earth. So really drop your head, your jaw, everything. Let it rest. Take a few breaths here. Even out the weight through the soles of the feet. Sometimes when we fold in, all of the weight shifts forwards or backwards in the feet. So try to create some equanimity there. Then with your next inhale, lift up halfway. So hands could be on blocks or on a chair. Then as you exhale, begin to press your thigh bones back. So now you're opening up the backs of the knees. Really press your legs towards straight as they'll go. Continue to be really firm through the soles of the feet. Make sure your weight's not back in the heels or too far forward, but really evenly grounded. Lift and spread your toes. Hug your inner thighs towards one another, and then lengthen your heart forward. Take a full breath in. Full breath out. One more, inhale. Then exhale, you might soften your toes and keep your legs a little bit straighter this time as you fold over your legs. And don't worry about how deep you go. So maybe even don't go as deep as you could or normally would. Instead, just focus on finding that engagement through the legs. So feel the backs of the knees open. Feel your sits bones start to lift. And then that grounding down through the legs. But stay a little bit lifted, maybe not releasing all the way down like we did before with the knees bent. And take a few breaths here. Take a break if you ever need to. And if there's any discomfort in the low back, you can always lift back up or find a little bend in the knees, or comment me and we'll chat about what to do about low back pain in these forward folds. Sometimes that's a symptom of tight hamstrings. So opening that up can be really, really helpful and beneficial. Good. If you're not in a halfway lift, do so now. So lengthen your heart forward, press your thigh bones back. And as you exhale, pick up your left foot, take a big step back on your yoga mat. Walk your hands back on either side of your right foot and then sink your left knee down. And you might use a blanket here, or you can place it straight up down on the mat and release your left toes. Stay up on the blocks for a few breaths. Press down through the right foot and magnetize left knee and right heel towards one another. Find some power there in the legs. Then walk your hands up onto your right thigh. Stay strong and steady through the sole of the right foot. And again, find this isometric hugging of left knee and right heel. Keep that. It's really important to maintain that sense of power between the legs and then start to melt the hips a little bit more forward in space. But don't just collapse and dump into the hips. Really continue to pull left knee and right heel towards one another. You can also begin to lift your heart to the sky, maybe lean back in space a little bit and just see how that feels. Good, one more breath in. And a big breath out. Return your hands to your blocks. Begin to press your hips back towards your left heel and straighten out the right leg. Or move it towards straight, doesn't need to be all the way straight. I like to kick my heel forward a couple of inches when I move between these two shapes. So you can keep your right knee again a little bit bent here. Dig your right heel into the floor and pull your right toes towards your right knee. And that's going to cause all kind of sensation to explode through the back of your leg, or at least it does for me. And then broaden your butt back behind you. Elongate your heart towards your toes and gaze forward with soft eyes. So again, the goal here isn't so much to work the mobility of the hip by folding forward. It's really to find that action and engagement in the legs. You can do that staying more upright. It doesn't necessarily add to our goal today to fold forward. However, if you want to fold forward and just explore that, a few ways to do it. You could bring your forearms to your blocks, or you could walk your fingertips forward past your right foot. So a few things to do to explore here. I'm going to stay mostly upright. Good, and then to come out of this, I want you to imagine that you were trying to drag your right heel towards you. So pull the right heel towards you in order to bend the right knee. This again will really engage the hamstring. Walk your blocks forward. Tuck your left toes under and lift your left knee. With an inhale, step or walk, left foot forward. And as you exhale, take your right leg this time back, sink your right knee to the floor and tuck your toes. Stay up here on the blocks for a few breaths. Pull your left heel and your right knee towards one another so that there's a really strong, stable foundation. And then walk your hands up onto your left thigh. Keep that action between heel and knee as you perhaps begin to send the hips a little bit more forward. Notice how this side feels. Continue to breathe. Notice. And maybe begin to lengthen the heart up and lean the head and shoulders back just a hair. Then hands back to your blocks. Begin to press your hips back towards your right heel. Point your left toes to the sky. If you're like me and you like a little bit more space, you might scoot your left heel a little bit forward. Ardha Hanuman. Pull your left toes towards your left knee. Press your left heel into the floor. Broaden your butt back behind you. Heart is open. Throat is open. So what we want to prevent from happening here is this number in the spine. That takes all of the engagement out of the leg. But if you can press the hips back and find length in the spine immediately, all of that work in the back of the leg switches on for me. And then again, options here, you could bring your hands more forward. You could let your forearms rest on your blocks, or you could lower the setting of the blocks. You could do all sorts of things there. Take a few more breaths and really just focus on pressing your left heel into the earth. Good, and then again, to come out of this, we're gonna drag, pull the left heel towards the right knee. And then walk your blocks forward. You can set them off to the side. And we're gonna come into a tabletop pose. So hands and knees here. We'll go through a few rounds of cat and cow. Spread the palms of your hands, really root down through your index, knuckle, and your thumb mounds. As you inhale, tilt your sits bones to the sky, drop your heart, roll your shoulders back, gaze forward. And then as you exhale, round your tailbone towards the backs of your knees, puff through the back of your heart, drop your head. And keep going like this a few more times. Nice and gentle. You can stay and explore one of these if it's feeling interesting or like it needs some attention. Otherwise, you can just flow back and forth between the two. Good, then inhale back to a neutral spine. Step your left tippy toes behind you to the back of your mat. Pause here and really firm your core. Pull your low belly up towards your low back. Keep that and lift your left heel off of the earth. Doesn't matter how high. Just stay here for a moment. Maybe pulse the leg up and down a few times. Just find a little bit of movement. Engaging the glutes here. And then come to stillness. Sweep your left leg out to the left and place your left foot to the floor, about in line with your right knee. Left toes are pointing forward. Really press your left foot down, feel your inner thigh light up, and then walk your hands towards the top of your mat, press your hips back. Option to stay here or to take your left hand and slide it underneath your right shoulder and place your left temple to the ground. Come up onto the fingertips of the right hand, pull your right shoulder back, and breathe. Beautiful. With your next inhale, come back to both hands underneath the shoulders. Tick-tock your right foot a little bit out to the right. So you're just kicking your right shin bone a little bit out to the right. Pick your left leg up and then sweep it back behind you. Take your left arm up and over your left ear. Flex your left toes, reach from left heel to left fingertips. So what we want to do here is really strengthen the outer left hip. You can just stay here and breathe. You might pulse the left leg up and down a few times. This will make the pose more sensational, so it's optional. If you've got any discomfort in the wrists, you can do this on your forearm, or you could curl your fingers around the edges of a yoga block. Good, then release, left hand down, right shin bone centers out, release your left knee down, and maybe take a cat and a cow. Inhale back to a neutral spine. Other side, step your right tippy toes behind you, pull your low belly in and up, and then lift your right heel. Pulse your right leg up and down a few times, keeping the spine stable, the core strong. Good, then inhale your right leg out to the right. Place your right foot on the floor, toes point forward, about in line with your left knee. Walk your hands forward, broad, and your hips back behind you. Stay here. Keep pulling low belly in and up, or thread your right arm underneath your left shoulder, maybe right temple to the floor or to a block or a blanket. Come up onto the fingertips of your left hand. Press your right foot down into the floor and just breathe. Awesome. With an inhale, ground your left palm and then your right palm. Come back to center. Pivot your left shin out about 45 degrees, pick your right leg up and then sweep it back behind you. Reach your right arm alongside your right ear, flex your right toes, and just extend from right heel out through right fingertips. Side plank variation. Again, we're switching on some of these muscles along the right outer hip. Option to pulse the right leg up and down, keeping the foot really strong and active here. And just notice what's going on, especially in the mind, as well as the body, as well as the breath. Be a good observer. And then release, right hand down, both feet to the floor. And maybe inhale through a cow. And then a cat. Good, from here, come all the way down onto your front. Make a pillow for your forehead. You could stack your hands or let your forehead rest on your thumbs and just take a breath here. And then roll over onto your right side. Prop yourself up with your right forearm and bend both of your knees. This is kind of a relaxed shape. The only thing I want you to really focus on here is keeping some engagement through the front body, so not just sort of dropping everything down, but some integration through the front body to the back body. Right leg is gonna stay bent. Take your left leg and straighten it, and then same thing here. Just some more of this pulsing action up and down. This always reminds me of like aerobics classes. This is really good work for our outer hips. There's tons of ways that we can incorporate these into our movement practices, particularly our yoga practice, so that they're not neglected, these body parts. Ooh, so good. Come back to center, roll onto your abdomen. You might pass through a Sphinx pose, just pausing for a moment on your forearms. Really charge your glutes and your legs here. And then over to the other side. So left forearm will come in at about a 45-degree angle and then roll to your left outer hip, bend the knees. Take your right leg out straight now, flex your right toes, and again, begin to pulse the leg. So a little bit of a repeat here, just to really diving into this action. And you might become quickly aware of which side is slightly weaker than the other, because you'll feel this more immediately. So good. Let's do two more. 2, 1, and then release. Roll back onto your abdomen. Take a moment here in your Sphinx pose. Full breath in. And then exhale. Again, release the head. Maybe rock your hips from side to side. And then roll over onto your back. Make sure that you've got your strap handy. We're going to use it in just a moment, not quite yet. Ground your feet in front of your hips, about hip width apart. Often here we're given the cue to try to touch our heels. Please skip that. Let your heels be wherever feels natural, a good distance from the body. Ground your palms to the earth, press into the back of your skull. Hug your upper arm bones, your shoulder blades a little bit closer together beneath you. Press into your feet, inhale, lift your hips. Don't go super high. Just lift them the most natural amount right now. Feel your glutes switch on. And we're gonna lift and lower the hips a few times. And at the top of the lift is when you can feel your glutes start to contract. So just continue to pulse up and down here a few more times. We'll do 3 more. 3, 2, 1, and then hold. Again, this isn't necessarily the same as how we do our bridge pose usually. So don't worry about how high you're getting or about interlacing your fingers beneath you. We're really working the glutes here. And then release. Take your arms out to your sides, maybe into cactus, and drop your knees from left to right. Come back to center now. Grab hold of your strap or your scarf or whatever you have. Keep your left knee bent. Pull your right knee into your chest. Loop the strap around the ball of your right foot. And then take your right leg to the sky. Hold on to one end of the strap in each hand. Press up through your right heel. And ground through your sacrum, your shoulders, the back of your head. Open up through the back of the right knee. And then you can play with some movement here. One thing that's really nice to do, if you feel like your hamstrings are tight or stuck, is to bend and straighten this knee a few times. And you'll feel some heat build and encourage some sliding action to happen in the hamstrings. And then maybe come back to center. Option to take your left leg either further away from you, so you can scoot your left foot away from your left hip, or you could straighten your left leg all the way out. But if that causes any distortion to happen through the spine, skip it. Open up through the back of the right knee here. Lengthen your right outer hip a little bit away from your right armpit. Give yourself enough slack in the strap so you're not super tight or pulling. It doesn't matter how close you get to your foot. Right hand takes hold of both ends of the strap, and then slowly open your right leg to the right. Left hand to left hip to sort of be a reminder to keep the left hip grounded. And if this doesn't feel supported, you can always slide a block or a bolster underneath your right thigh. Extend out through the heel, flex your toes back towards your right knee. Inhale back to center, take both ends of the strap over into your left hand, and cross your right foot to the left, maybe about just 6 inches or so. So don't go really, really far. Press up through the heel, keep your right hip heavy. See how this feels? Hug your leg in a little bit closer to you, and then maybe go about another 3 inches. Keep lifting the leg close towards you. Then inhale, come back to center, exhale, release the strap, bend the knee, place the right foot onto the floor, other side, left foot in, loop the strap around this ball of the foot, one end of the strap in each hand, take your left foot up. Reach up through your heel, firm your left thigh. Option to scoot your right foot a little bit further away from you, or to take your right leg out long on the mat. Again, notice if you're gripping or working the arms really, really hard here, let the leg do some of the work. So see if, even if you let go of the strap, and you could keep that left leg pulled in. So it's not just this yanking in of the arms. We want to make this a little bit more active. Both ends of the strap over into the left hand, right hand to top of right hip, open left leg to the left. Again, feel free to wedge some support underneath your left thigh. Inhale, left leg back to center. Take hold of the strap in your right hand. Pull your left leg a little bit more into you, and then slide your left foot over just about 6 inches or so. Your left toes will be in line-ish with your right shoulder. See how this feels. Continue to find full breaths, and then release your left leg maybe about 3 inches more over to the right, nice and gentle. Inhale. Leg back to center, release the strap, set it off to the side, hug both knees in towards your chest, and rock a little bit from left to right. And then release all the way into your Shavasana. And let this be whatever feels good to you. Maybe it feels better to have your knees bent, inner knees touching. Maybe you want to place something beneath your knees. Maybe you want to lie on your side or your stomach or take a restorative shape. Use an exhale to really begin settling into this shape. Find some heaviness and grounding through the body. Soften the eyes, the jaw, the fingers, the toes. Let the breath naturally flow. If you have more time and your body is asking for more rest, please don't move a muscle. Stay exactly as you are. If you're ready to transition back to the rest of your day, then start to bring little flickers of movement back into the body. Whatever feels organic and invited in right now. Maybe even a deep full body stretch. And then bend your knees. Take a slow roll over to one side. Support your head with your upper arm. And then stay in this side plane of the body. Ground your palm, maybe straighten out your top leg and slowly lift yourself up to a comfortable seat. Take a moment. If it feels authentic to you, you might bring your hands together at the heart center, Anjali Mudra. And dip your chin towards your chest. Take a few breaths to thank your body and your breath for all the ways that they support you. And thank you so much for practicing with me today. Please leave any questions or comments. Thank you. Have a beautiful, beautiful day.